Thank you. Thanks for joining today. I'm Tyler Ruse, Director of Publisher Solutions at Digital Science. I'm going to introduce to you today Dimensions Author Check, which is one of our latest tools to help publishers deal with issues around research integrity. So if you don't know what digital science is, you may actually know more about the brands that we have in scholarly publishing, things like Dimensions, Figshare, Altmetric, FreeCube, and Overleaf. But today we're going to be talking about a new product we developed that's alongside of the Dimensions product itself. It's called Dimensions Author Check, and it's really meant to be a screening tool for publishers to be able to identify researchers, look at their profiles, and identify if there are any areas of risk or concern, looking at things like previous publications and their co-authorship and collaboration networks. So we did do a closed beta with this product at the end of 2024, and we got some really good feedback from some of the participants there. I think the last one's probably most relevant. They talked about how the issues we're solving with Dimensions Author Check isn't just a numbers game. It's just not about throwing more people at a problem. The insights we were driving were bringing things that they could never find, no matter how many people they threw at an analysis of authorship. So there are two prongs to the Dimensions Author Check product. The first is the data that's in there. We'll start with over 150 million publications and 35 million distinct disambiguated author records. Those are coming from the Dimensions product, whose job in life is as a publications database, but all the work around disambiguation and data cleanup work there served as a great foundation for Dimensions Author Check so that we could really understand the publication history and universe of publications across the board. On top of that, we built a separate database of things we call atypical events. These are things like retraction notices and expressions of concern from reputable sources like Crossref, Retraction Watch, and PubMed. And then we also partnered with a service called the Problematic Paper Screener, who looks at papers for things like tortured phrases and citations to hijacked journals or site-jacked. We think with that data set, we've been able to create a very significant and accurate data set about retractions and areas of concern about previous publications. And you see from the colored graphic here, it's not a one-to-one relationship. What Crossref calls a retraction is not 100% exactly what Retraction Watch calls a retraction. And it's not 100% what a publisher calls a retraction. So we sort of brought all these databases together so that we've got the entire universe captioned. Now, on top of the data itself, some of the intellectual property we developed was built on a methodology by two of my colleagues, Leslie McIntosh and Simon Porter, who developed a way to look at author collaboration networks to identify anomalies that might be of interest or risk as you look at authorship itself. So even those that don't have retraction history, you may want to look at their author collaboration to see if they might fit the mold of a paid for authorship ring, for example. Now, we call this a network flag in Dimensions Author Check, but it's essentially saying, in addition to knowing each and every paper that an author has published, and if there's a problem with that, we can also identify issues with their author network and their collaborations. It looks at things like having a weird collaboration graph with unusual properties, like authoring with one author only once in their career and then never again, or being a highly prolific author in a given period of time, or being very prolific early in their career, or even being in an author network with other authors like that, even though they don't fit those exact dynamics. So we took this particular algorithm, developed it, and ran it across all 150 million publication records that are the underpinning of Dimensions Author Check to try and identify which authors should have a flag for suspicious activity around their collaboration network. We did a little bit of analysis to understand what that data looked like and sort of prove it out. And we found that 50% of the authors with the network flag through this algorithm in the Dimensions data had at least one paper that had a retraction, compared to less than 1% of all of those that didn't have the author flag. So we really wanted to prove a corroboration between the two data points. In fact, if you boil down the math, we found that any author with a flagged network in Dimensions Author Check is 100 times more likely to have had a problematic paper published in the past. So the way that it works is we've developed a dashboard. It's a web-based application, makes it easy to search on people. You can use their name, you can use their ORCID ID, you can use their institutional affiliation, and you'll immediately get back a search result set that'll give you a very high-level view of areas of risk or areas of interest that you may want to dig into further, like do they have retracted papers in their past, or are they part of an author network with an issue? From there, you can dive in to the profile and details page of each individual person that you might be looking into their history. You can look at things like their total publications with the percent that might have a retraction or an expression of concern. You can then also identify, are they part of a network flag? So they're associated with a potential issue network within the database itself. And from there, if you really want to do sort of due diligence, you can click into the details. You'll see every paper they've had that has a retraction or an expression of concern, what the reason is behind that, what the data source was. So whether that came from Crossref or Retraction Watch or Problematic Paper Screener. And then you can explore their entire collaboration and co-authorship network to understand why they might have that network flag. Again, it's not 100%. It's not indicative of a bad thing, but certainly it points towards a potential where you want to understand the risk of that particular author. So just quickly, what's coming next? We're going to add more atypical events. We want to expand that universe so we know more and more about what problematic papers were published in the past. And more specifically, I think important here, we're developing a way to integrate this capability set into submission systems so that it can be automated and it can be at the point of manuscript submission rather than just a tool for editorial to do some analysis on their own. So thank you very much. With that, this QR code takes you to the landing page for Dimensions Author Check if you're very interested. We also have a press release listed there of our first premier customer, Sage Publications, who signed up at the end of the year. So thank you very much.